Hi, Matthew. It's so nice to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
Good, I'm great. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here. Okay. I'm quite excited to have Matthew on the show for some reasons. Okay. Firstly, I believe in knowledge seeking because in order to transition from a chaotic situation to that of a beautiful one, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information. And secondly, now, the second reason why I'm excited to have Matthew on the show is for the sake of the ones who are going to be listening to our conversation. Because I believe there are some things that Matthew knows that some of those folks needs to hear you say these stuff, directly from your mouth, in order for them to experience transformation. I firmly believe that. And thirdly, that is me. I believe I would definitely learn one or two things from your story, your insight, and your experiences. So for that reason, Matthew, let us get started with your introduction, how the journey has been so far
Sure.
and the challenges that you faced and how you overcame them. And afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Matthew, over to you.
Sure. So, my name is Matthew Fornaro. I'm a business law attorney here in South Florida. I became an attorney in 2003. I always wanted to be an attorney growing up. I watched legal shows and things like that and was always interested in it. I went to undergrad and took political science as a prerequisite for the law. Then I went to the University of Florida Levin College of Law. I got my law degree. I came out. I worked at a boutique firm for a while, and then I worked at two large AmLaw 200 law firms doing primarily commercial litigation. While I was there, I kind of wanted to work more with smaller clients and more in a more intimate setting. So I had the opportunity to either go to an even bigger firm or go out and start my own firm. So I started my own firm and focus on helping small and medium-sized businesses, particularly in South Florida, but also all over the United States. And I've been doing that since 2015. And that is my general background story.
I got that. Okay. Um, I feel like our conversation is going to be a very interesting one because I've got some beautiful questions for you. Okay, so shall
Sure,
we get started with the questions?
sure, let's go.
Okay, so can you talk to us about some of the issues that small businesses are facing?
Sure. Small businesses, whether they're brand new or they've been around for a while, are all facing pretty similar issues. One of the issues is obviously dealing with the economy, employees, things of that nature. One of the things that I deal with new businesses and businesses that come on as my clients is that we make sure that they have all their governing documents and operating documents in order regarding their business. So for a corporation, that would be corporate bylaws and articles of incorporation. And for an LLC, that would be an operating agreement. So we make sure we have all those in place. We make sure we have contracts in place for our landlord tenant if we're renting a commercial space, for our service providers like various, whoever is providing services for the business, whether it's goods or labor, and make sure everything's on track. So those are general kind of prerequisite things that businesses deal with, is making sure that all that initial stuff is on track. As I pointed out, ongoing issues that businesses have are obviously the ebb and flow of business, dealing with the economy, dealing with labor issues, dealing with regulatory issues, dealing with you owing money to people, people owing money to you, dealing with various customers and clients, dealing with your employees. and generally making sure that you comply with tax laws and things of that nature. So those are ongoing issues that I assist my clients with regarding their small and medium-sized businesses.
I got that. I got that. I feel like many new or small businesses needs to listen to our conversation because the stuff you mentioned that are needed to have, many folks do not even know about it. And that's why I'm happy to have you here. Okay, so what made you want to focus on helping businesses?
Sure. So like I had mentioned before, when I worked at two large law firms, I helped big businesses, banks, insurance companies, things like that. However, I wanted to uh, focus on helping smaller, medium-sized businesses. Growing up, my dad had his own business, and I saw the issues that he dealt with, and I didn't really think that people like him were served by competent and reasonable attorneys, for lack of a better term. I don't mean that disparagingly. I mean that it's just not, attorneys aren't geared to help small and medium-sized businesses. So I wanted to take my talents and focus on being able to use what I learned elsewhere and what I used to help large businesses and multinational companies and things like that, and be able to help small and medium-sized businesses.
Amazing. That's so kind of you. You started a problem and you wanted to be the solution to that problem. That's a good one. Okay, so how do attorneys work with accountants?
Sure. So accountants are an integral part of any business and business support, and obviously attorneys are too. Attorneys and accountants should act together in conjunction with their client in order to help them. I know in my practice, I always make sure that my business clients have an accountant. I'm glad to work with their accountant, or if they need a recommendation, I'm glad to refer them to one. But you got to let the attorney and the accountant need to work hand in hand in order to protect and guide the client regarding legal and financial issues. So, for instance, when setting up a business, you can choose from being a corporation, an LLC, a partnership, or anything you want. That's from the legal perspective, but you also need the economic and tax ramification perspective. And that's why you need to have an accountant on board even when you're starting your business, because you need to consult the accountant regarding what the tax implications are and the financial implications are for forming that kind of business. So that's at the inception of a business, why you need an accountant and why you need your attorney working with the accountant. And obviously in an ongoing nature, you want to make sure that from the attorney side, the business complies with all laws and regulations and requirements from a legal side. And you want to make sure from the accountant side that they do the same thing regarding financial and tax ramifications. So that's why, the attorney and the accountant are essentially on the same team supporting the business, and that's why they should work together. And that's why in my practice, I work together very closely with my clients' accountants.
I didn't know that before. Just like I mentioned at the beginning that I am sure I would learn one or two things, and that is happening already. I love that. Okay, what legal planning goes into a business? You mentioned having some necessary document, and I want you to talk more on that. The legal planning that goes into a business.
Sure. So for my clients, when they're starting up a business, one of the things that I tell them they have to have before they even conceive of what kind of business organization they want or who they want to help and what they want to do, they have to have a written business plan. So the first thing for any business before you even start is to have a written business plan. And that written business plan, there's no right or wrong format. It just has to have a lot of facts and a lot of information in it. It's essentially your roadmap on how you're going to start your business, what your business is about, how you're going to run your business, how you're going to get money for your business, where your business is going to be, what it's going to do, how it's going to deal with situations, adversity, positive situations, how it's going to grow, how it's going to change, how you're going to admit new members, how you're going to get rid of old members and things like that. So the first thing that needs to go in any business is you have to have a written business plan before you even do anything else. That's step one. The next step that you need to take when you have a business is, like I was speaking about before, you want to choose the correct business organization that matches your needs. And that's why you want to work with an attorney and an accountant to figure out what the correct business organization is before you even form it. Then once you form it, you have to make sure you have your governing documents in place as far as your articles of incorporation, your corporate bylaws, your operating agreement. So that has to be in place. Then you want to make sure that you have, your bank account set up. You want to make sure that you have your professionals on board. You want to make sure that if you're leasing a space, you make sure you have your space, make sure your attorney reviews your lease. If you're entering into some kind of contracts with service providers or employees or whatever, you want to make sure your attorney reviews all that. And that's essentially, in a pretty small nutshell, the due diligence that goes into starting a business before you even start, turning the key and going.
Brilliant. I got that. That was well explained and it was in order. Okay, I'm just curious, all right. What are the implications of not having those necessary documents?
Sure. The issues is that if you run into problems with your business, or even if you don't run into problems and just need to do routine things, you're going to have issues because you don't have those documents. So for instance, if you have someone who you're in business with, or, I don't want to use the term partner because that's a specific kind of business, but if you have someone who you're doing business with, you have to have a written document that explains what your relationship is and who owns what and who does what. Otherwise, if there's ever a disagreement, you're not going to have a written plan to resolve the disagreement, which is what's in the documents. So that's why, for instance, in setup, it's so important, because you need to know where you're going to go and how you're going to do it. That's why you need, in addition to the plan, you need those governing documents. And if you don't have them, you're going to run into problems, for instance, with people in your own business, and then you're going to run into problems with people outside of your business, because if you get sued or you get into some kind of situation, you need to insulate yourself and protect yourself in the business. And that's what those documents come in and do, is they explain your role and what you do. Otherwise, you're presumed to do certain things and other things that you may or may not do because you don't have those governing documents. Another thing is that if you're going to open a bank account, or you're going to lease or buy property or anything like that, you're going to have to show the bank or the closing agency or whoever it is that you have those governing documents in order to be able to qualify to be able to buy that stuff or do that stuff. So if you don't have that, you're going to have problems. So those are just a few quick examples of what you need those governing documents for.
Very educating. I got that. I love how you're explaining it. You're making it quite easy to understand. That's a good one. Okay, so Matthew, to bring this to an end, what would you like to leave the audience with? Like a final thought or an advice? And to those ones who would like to reach out to you, learn more about what you do. Maybe you said something that resonated well with them and they would like to learn more. How can that be possible?
Sure. So, going into business is obviously never easy. It's always difficult. It's always challenging. You always got to just make sure that, like we were discussing, you have to have your written plans in place, and you have to have your support system in place of your attorney, your accountant, your banker, and whatever professionals you need. So my main advice is, believe in yourself, believe in the process, and make sure that you give yourself the best chance to succeed by doing your due diligence, taking things slow, and making sure you have all your pieces in order in a row, starting with your written business plan, then your governing documents, then your contracts, your group of professionals, and things like that. And then you'll be free to go about and do your business. And hopefully your business succeeds based on your due diligence. So if you want to get a hold of me, or you want to talk to me, or you want me to answer your questions or anything, the easiest way to get a hold of me is just to go to my website, which is fornarolegal.com. It's FORNARO legal.com. And that has all my contact information on it. It has all my social media. It has instructive videos that I have on it. It has blogs, white papers, and then has other podcasts on it where I pretty much answer most of the small business owner or medium business owner's initial questions. You can find it on my website. So I'd be glad to help you. Feel free to reach out.
Beautiful. So that's going to be the end of the show, Matthew. Thank you for coming, and thank you for, sharing these amazing stuff with us. Thank you, man.
Sure. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.